This does not mean that what China is doing is good. It simply means that it's better. Thus far. That might change, but thus far, it's better. The dark side of electric cars? Okay, we'll watch that.
Hey, is that one of those fancy coffee cups that stays warm?
It heats it from the bottom.
That's my friend Cleo, who is a newly independent journalist making stuff on YouTube.
And I'm gonna call it huge if true.
There aren't a lot of journalists / YouTubers out there, and now that there's another one, I'm gonna ask for her help.
Okay, so I want to show you a map. Do you see this map?
Yes.
This is the Congo. It's this giant country.
Everybody's saying she's a CIA plant. Guess what? If she's a CIA plant, I'm a CIA plant now, okay? Sorry, sweaty. I love the CIA now. Oh my God. Everything that they've ever done is actually good. I love destabilizing socialist regimes in Latin American countries. Oh my fucking Lord, dude. Actually, arming the Contras was a good thing. Why are you against the allowing brown people to arm themselves and liberate themselves from the oppressive construct of socialist governance, dude?
Central Africa that used to be called Zaire. And what's crazy about this that I've never seen before is if you map all of the mines in Congo, it looks like this.
Wow.
And all of these are the cobalt mines.
Cobalt.
Cobalt, yes, cobalt. It's a thing that used to not be important at all, but it's now very important, and that's what I'm like sort of fixating on right here. These are cobalt mines, and 15 of them are run by...
Oh my God. No way. There is no fucking way this video is just about the fact that China controls damn near the entirety of the natural resource necessary for battery production. Oh no, dude, this is, oh my God. Okay, bro. Holy fuck, the World Economic Forum, Andy is back, dude. Bro, this is literally like a foreign policy mag article, you know what I mean? This is straight up like, the New York Times Daily did this. They wrote this article.
China.
I know where this is going.
But wait, this isn't another just China moves into Africa story. I've made a video on that. This story feels bigger. Like we're going through some shift in how we make and use energy.
We are going to transition this country into the future.
Which means we're using new materials like cobalt. So the question is, who's gonna control these new valuable minerals in the future? And how will they use that control?
Oh, because cobalt is in electric car batteries and a bunch of other stuff?
Yes, bingo, electric car batteries, the thing that everyone is racing to figure out and make more of. I mean, look at this chart of the demand for EVs over time. Like, it's just exploding. So the reason I'm showing you all of this is because you're a technology person, you think about this stuff, and you tend to have a more sort of optimistic view than I do on a lot of the future. And I kind of want that perspective here. Because what I see here is just another instance of like a big superpower, China, racing into an underdeveloped country to steal its resources so that it can control the supply chain.
Dog, they're literally, first of all, two things that need to be talked about here. One, unironically doing better treatment than America is. Two, America gave it up. We literally, here in the United States, gave up cobalt production in the Congo. Like, we were like, oh, fuck it, YOLO, whatever, who cares? Like, they sold it. They sold it to the Chinese. What the fuck? That's crazy. Does this video pass the Bechdel test? Bechdel test? Yes, it does, yes.
And to be honest, I thought the clean energy revolution would look, I don't know, different than this.
I wasn't expecting this.
I really do think that it can. I think that there's a world in which there's a green energy revolution that doesn't look like the same old story of all the other fossil fuels and minerals that we've mined before. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I think there are ways to pull it off.
I like your optimism.
Well, let's get into it. I want to show you what I've learned here on cobalt because I've sort of been like down a rabbit hole on the cobalt China situation. And then I want to like have a discussion about what this means for the future of energy.
Let's do it.
that children were mining cobalt in the Democratic Republic of Congo, or DRC.
Cobalt is one of the world's most coveted resources. Its value has nearly tripled over the past year.
This most precious of minerals is often extracted and sorted by tiny hands.
Chinese traders here bought all the cobalt and sold it mainly to one Chinese company.
Okay, hold on 1 second. I need to thank today's sponsor, who is NordVPN. A VPN is a tool that allows you to connect to the internet, but not through that you're all that, but like
Electric cars are expected to double the world's demand for cobalt by the year 2025.
I want to continue to explain cobalt in China and all of that, but like first we have to understand the DRC, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, this massive country in the middle of Africa that honestly should be one of the richest countries on earth because it is sitting on top of so many valuable resources. Unfortunately, this is a place that for centuries has
Dude, I love Johnny Harris. I really do. The whitest man in America.
not been able to actually take advantage of this wealth because it has been pillaged by outsiders. Whether that's the people being literally stolen and shipped across the Atlantic as forced labor, or this brutal Belgian king who came in and forced the Congolese people to work to harvest rubber, or more recently, the blood diamond rush. I mean, this place has been pillaged for years because of its resources. So here we are in 2022. The new hot commodity is not rubber or diamonds, it's cobalt.
Wait, what the fuck? Why is he acting like... Wait, no shot, dude. What happened between that part and 2020? Like, there's a major area where skips occur. Even the New York Times, like, while not talking about our interest specifically, at least mentioned that, like, you know, America had an interest in extracting natural resources from
to harvest rubber, or more recently, the blood diamond rush. I mean, this place has been pillaged for years because of its resources. So here we are in 2022. The new hot commodity is not rubber or diamonds, it's cobalt. This blue mineral that used to be just like for making ceramics turn blue. Like that's what it was useful for. But now it has a really useful purpose in the growing world of electric vehicles.
Electric vehicles.
A lot of people love Tesla.
Well, this is the EV sales forecast.
Electric vehicles are the future.
So I know something about how electric car batteries are made. I kind of know the things that go into them. How did a...
Congo, short for the Democratic Republic of Congo, is an equatorial country located in Central Africa. As of July 2018, the CIA World Factbook lists the Congo containing over 85 million inhabitants, representing over 200 African ethnic groups. French is the country's official language. I wonder how that happened. And Catholics comprise the largest religious group at 50%. I wonder how that happened. The Congo was colonized by King Leopold II of Belgium in 1885. Oh, that's how that happened. And known as Belgian Congo until independence in 1960. In recent decades, the CIA has been involved in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, especially in relation to the CIA's considerations and plans to assassinate former Prime Minister Patrice Lumumba, and accusations of CIA involvement in his eventual assassination. Patrice Lumumba was the legally elected first Prime Minister of the independent country. Lumumba was killed on January 17, 1961, at the age of 35, near Elizabethville, Katanga. Even before the independence of the Congo, the U.S. government attempted to facilitate the election of a pro-Western government by identifying and supporting individual pro-U.S. leaders. Oh my God, that's so crazy. That would never have happened. I mean, that's bullshit. They would never do that. The CIA was also notably involved in a campaign against Lumumba's successor, which led to his eventual imprisonment and long exile from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. The CIA was also a vital part of the United States' efforts to aid Joseph Mobutu, who took control of the Congo in 1965 and renamed the country Zaire and himself Mobutu Sese Seko. The CIA would work heavily with Mobutu, particularly in relation to America's support for the National Liberation Front of Angola and Jonas Savimbi's National Union for the Total Independence of Angola. The idea that we were not involved, the CIA specifically was not involved in what is going on in the Congo, is absolutely fucking insane. I mean, that's just like that you are purposely avoiding significant chunks of the history of the Democratic Republic of Congo, purposefully, and you're doing that to avoid America's involvement. No one claimed otherwise. No, I'm saying that like no one. No, I'm. The reason why I'm mentioning this is because, Johnny Harris talked about Belgium and talked about their involvement, but totally fucking glossed over a fundamentally important revolutionary leader for Congo. Like literally, just the most important. I thought this was about resource extraction. Of course, it's about resource extraction. That's how it works. That's how do you think you do resource extraction? You can't go from Belgium to China when there's like a fucking 40-year period in which the United States of America was involved in the Congo in a similar capacity. And worse, actually, not even a similar capacity, worse. And at the time, the United States also, well, not all that interested because of probably the fossil fuel industry and its involvement with the American government, which is basically just a fucking way to extract tax dollars from the American public and turn it into subsidies for the fossil fuel industry. Didn't focus on cobalt mining because they did not want to focus on cobalt mining because they were more so interested in other countries in the African continent that also had oil production, like Nigeria. So that's the part of the reason why they did not care enough about it, even after its destabilization, and totally gave up cobalt extraction and mining to China. There were American corporations that were doing that, but they stopped doing it because they were more focused on oil instead. Okay, let's get back to this fucking thing, and then we'll do all of that.
Substance that made ceramics blue end up being so important to electric car batteries?
Well, at first, lithium is like the main ingredient, and like that was the most important. But as more and more car companies are trying to make their cars go longer and further without exploding, cobalt is this amazing material that helps regulate the heat and like volatility of an EV.
So cobalt is super important for electric cars to be able to go long distances without needing a recharge or exploding.
Absolutely. We're in this phase where like every car company is competing on these sort of nuanced, like marginal improvements. Like my car can go 400 kilometers, mine can go 410. And so cobalt is becoming more and more important for these long range features that are becoming important in this like cutthroat competition. Turns out that the Congo has 70% of the world's cobalt. Like, I'm not kidding when I say this place is like resource rich.
You're rich.
So this is becoming a bigger and bigger issue, but guess who read the tea leaves like 20 years ago and started investing in cobalt mines in the Congo?
China.
China, yes, obviously. China.
The Democratic Republic of Congo struck a big deal with Beijing.
Chinese traders here bought all the cobalt and sold it mainly to one Chinese company.
This is where I start to get pessimistic about the whole green energy revolution, and let me tell you why. I made this video a while back about how China has been
straight up, would he ever say this if America owned 70% of the cobalt? Like, I'm just genuinely wondering, like, would he ever in a million years be like, it's really fucked up that America has, like, monopolized this incredibly important resource for, yo, China owns cobalt, so fuck this climate change shit? I mean, they don't own the cobalt, just manufacturing 70% of it. Yeah.
Rushing into Africa to build up a bunch of infrastructure and to win the hearts of African nations, but also to kind of assert control and leverage over them. But as a part of all of this Chinese investment into Africa, China has been pouring loads of money into mines, specifically focusing on the DRC, where all these minerals are. And again, this is like the early 2000s.
I'm African is a huge concern that China has monopolized a lot of African resources by giving money to corrupt leaders. True. They're still literally treating Africans like slaves. True. Things aren't that much better than they were under non-Chinese entities. Don't know if that's true. It's a continuation and expansion of what was started by Western countries. Chad is getting really weird and ignorant about this right now. The only difference between Chinese imperialism or Chinese extraction of natural resources in comparison to like the Western world is that their loans are not under the same exact conditions. And when they do default, they're still fractional or still tiny in comparison to the American or Western loans that we're talking about. And on top of that, but more importantly, and I have to mention this again, when China has problems with a specific leadership in a country or a company, for example, this happened recently, okay? What ended up happening recently in the DRC was there was a company that was accusing the Chinese mining industry of stealing wages. and they went to a Congo court, okay, and they won. So China relinquished ownership over that factory for 6 months as a repayment for back wages that they had not, or back pay that they had not paid. That would never in a million fucking years happen with an American corporation. What would end up happening in that situation with an American corporation is they would literally go in, the CIA would tap one of the rebel groups, okay? The rebel groups would happen to assassinate the fucking bosses of the factory or some shit. And then they would literally turn around and put someone else in charge that is actually friendly to the interests of the American corporations. Because the American State Department works in unison with the American corporations. And by the way, look no further than a million different fucking ways that America has done this in Africa. You know, that's Coca-Cola did that in Colombia. Yeah, of course. I mean, guys, go listen to the Stephen Doziger interview that I conducted. An American Harvard-educated lawyer, a civil rights lawyer that has been falsely imprisoned by a civil court working at the behest of Exxon. Or not Exxon, fucking Chevron. A human rights lawyer. This isn't to say that Congo is not deeply corrupt. China does loan restructuring and renegotiations versus America doing literal civil wars and assassinations and coups. For the record, let me just mention another thing. Okay, this doesn't mean that China is going to be. This does not mean that what China is doing is good, or this does not mean that it's. It simply means that it's better. Thus far, that might change, but thus far, it's better. It might not continue being better. It might get worse. There might be, and there certainly are similarities between what China is doing, but ultimately, like I've said time and time again, currently. We don't have enough examples of China being like, oh, when those loans default, we're going to be fucking less bad, not better. Yeah, less bad. It is totally overlooking child labor in Africa. Do you think China's doing the same or have set up better circumstances? Fuck no. Absolutely not, dude. If you think China is like ethical, especially in the way that they like outsource, that's the U.S. parachute team, U.S. Army parachute team. If you think that China is going to operate in a more ethical capacity and like, out of the kindness of their hearts, stop something that gives them, a better profit margin, you are out of your fucking mind, okay?
They set up all of these mines and started mining and processing cobalt.
If you look at a chart of EV demand, it goes way up in the...
At the end of the day, only Africa has their best interests at heart. It will never be a perfect situation for Africans. It's just a lesser evil.
Thousands. How did they know? Like, why would China show up and start mining cobalt if it wasn't particularly valuable yet?
Yeah, and that's a really important question, and the answer just sort of blew my mind. The first one's easy, which is that cobalt became useful for other things like cell phone batteries and things like that. So there already was sort of like some nascent demand there. But it's also because of how China's economy works. Because China's a communist country where the state and the economy are like intertwined, they have different incentives than the capitalist West. Like in our economy, we have independent corporations who focus on delivering short-term profit.
What's up, Marxist-Leninists? Johnny Harris is saying China is actually a communist, baby. Johnny Dengist Harris. He's saying China has the superior system of centralized, a centralized economy that has not short-term goals, but rather long-term goals in mind. What happened? You guys were like, Johnny Harris is CIA. Guess what, dude?
It's to shareholders. In China, they can take long-term bets. They can say like, in 20 years, we think that this is going to be really valuable, so we're going to pour tons of money into this because we don't need to deliver profits next quarter. We can deliver profits in 20 years.
Damn, so bro, it almost seems like a fucking capitalist system is so hyper-focused on short-term gains and inherently an inferior system. And the only way that, like, kind of with the USSR, the only way that a capitalist country like the United States of America can get its shit in order is, like, through direct competition with another country that they consider to be socialist. A country that, at the very least, can push aside short-term gains for long-term goals. I'm just saying. Now, that doesn't mean that China doesn't also play short-term gains over long-term goals, considering what is going on in the real estate market in China. You can give it an understanding of that. Just saying, though,
This unique ability to make big bets that could potentially be huge. And in this case, it was the absolute best bet they could have made.
We hit the jackpot here!
So all of this explains why China controls 15 out of the 19 cobalt mines in the DRC.
Okay, so you got electric vehicle demand going up, cobalt is necessary for electric vehicles, and you've got China with their foresight buying up all of these mines in the Congo to control the supply of cobalt, which we're going to need for EVs.
Yeah.
The difference is China has an actual long-term plan besides improve corporate profit. Yeah, I mean, it's improve Chinese, improve the living conditions of the Chinese people. It's improve Chinese prosperity and improve the living conditions of the Chinese people, or not just the Han Chinese, but the Hanified Chinese as well. Harris is literally just mad China is doing capitalism better than the U.S. KEGW, African countries choose Chinese loans because they're less exploitative than the IMF. I mean, that is true. His employer, just kidding, but serious. Man's just salty. Chinese are beating him at his own game. Chinese loans are bad because they're capitalists, not because they're debt traps or whatever.
Yes, that is exactly right. And this gets into the strategy and the geopolitics of all of this. There's this one quote from an expert that Politico interviewed. He says that China is not processing all of that cobalt to export it to the United States to support your electric vehicle revolution. They're gonna make cheap cars themselves, and the best that you can hope for is that they'll export those cheap cars to you. Like, it's just so clear that like they're doing this to control what they see as a mass.
By the way, I already repeated this and Johnny Harris kind of didn't, but the rest of the world literally dropped the ball on cobalt. Like he glanced over that, but who owned the mines before China? Like even in as late as like 2000s, when it was already known that cobalt was going to be an important material for extraction, American companies were still like, yeah, it's not good enough for us. Fuck it. Like we're too focused on oil, YOLO. And they literally sold it to Chinese companies.
Massive burgeoning market that they want to have a corner on, and they're doing it. And here we go with why I feel so disappointed as I learn about all of this. Like here you have China racing to control this valuable mineral so that they can have leverage and power as the world transitions to cleaner energy. Oh, and not to mention that as China shows up and does all of this cobalt mining, you'll see no regard for worker safety, you'll see super dangerous mines, you'll see children doing backbreaking work, you have people routinely dying on the job. And perhaps the biggest contradiction of all is that...
Bro, I love Johnny Harris, like sitting in his apartment, having this Zoom conversation with this beautiful, brilliant journalist who I'm a fan of, with his fucking orange puffer jacket on indoors and this t-shirt sleeve that he cut off that he put around his head like a headband. Like, how do we arrive at this?
Of all is that this is a finite resource once again. Oh, and the process of mining and refining this stuff is the same old story of deforestation, polluted rivers, and just general exploitation. I mean, I thought the sustainable green revolution was going to be like clean and just for people. I thought electric cars would actually...
For the record, there's not a single rare earth mineral that is extracted under like better conditions than what he's referencing. Fucking the United States Supreme Court thinks that it's okay for third-party labor outsourcers to continue using child slaves. Okay, when extracting, when fucking doing the cocoa trafficking. Okay, chocolate. Like our Supreme Court openly is aware of our usage, our American corporations' usage of child slavery, and they literally fucking think it's okay as long as there's a third party doing it. Now, this doesn't mean it's okay when China does it, but I don't think it's okay when fucking America does it either.
Mean a cleaner way of doing business, like a cleaner future. But instead, we're seeing the same old earth-destroying, great power resource race that got us here in the first place.
You good?
Yeah, my rant is over. I'm sorry. This has like gotten me really worked up, and I'm ready to like chill out now.
We need to chill. When I used to imagine...
I don't like these new little, memes that he's adding into it. Shockingly sheltered and Western, just like a white dude whining on Zoom about working conditions of the Green Revolution that literally serves him.
Imagine a clean energy future. I had this image in my head, right, of like that moment in every sci-fi where they go like,
I mean, the way you frame it, it kind of does come off like that. Yeah, because you think it's fine when America does it, dumbass. That's the only difference. I'm unbiased towards America's crimes, just like I'm unbiased towards Chinese crimes. The only reason why you would ever think that it's okay, like whenever I compare Russian imperialism to American imperialism, for example, the only reason why you would ever think that is okay or fine is because you think American imperialism is fine. So that's why you're like, why are you comparing something that's not fine, Russian imperialism, to something that's kind of fine and justifiable, American imperialism? No, I think that it's all not fine, okay? The only thing that's fine is the top of the hour ad break being served exactly at 4. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. Should hit him with a special 420 ad break too, lol? No, I'm not going to do. Okay, let's continue with this cobalt
once
mining.
we lived in harmony. People lived in harmony. And there's Wakanda, and there's that one Chobani ad where everyone is using technology and living in a beautiful farm. Record scratch freeze for him. Here we are in the real world where right now it totally is the same old story of exploitation and harm to the environment in different ways and harm to people. I think one thing that's important to realize is that when we talk about a cleaner future, we're specifically talking about less CO2. And so though it conjures up all of these images of clean in other ways, it's on us to do that also. There's nothing about the technology that inherently will bring that about. The first is we can change the kinds of batteries that we're using. There's a lot of development in new kinds of batteries. One of them is a lithium-ion battery, not a lithium-ion battery. There's an extra R in there. And that battery uses different kinds of minerals. It doesn't use any cobalt. That might help this specific example, but the reality is that most of these minerals have their own stories of exploitation, so it's not great. So here's where I start to feel pretty optimistic. There's a big difference between fossil fuels and minerals. You're right that the difference between electric vehicles and gas combustion vehicles is that one uses fossil fuels and the other, we're swapping out fossil fuels for minerals. But there's a big difference between fossil fuels and minerals. Namely, fossil fuels are being incinerated every time that we drive. If we're using more minerals to power our cars, we also have the opportunity to get a lot better at recycling. This shows how much we already recycle. This is end-of-life recycling rates for select metals.
I mean, I just read this from Megaphonics
So
and
we're
Fango
already
Lives.
recycling a lot of these materials, including cobalt. Like
Yes.
it's almost 40%.
Yes, and the other thing to keep in mind here is you don't need to recycle these minerals and metals in cars themselves. You could have a clean energy future where we're recycling metals and minerals from batteries that store wind and solar energy into electric cars that are then re-recycled back out into other forms of storage and batteries.
Interesting. Okay. Wow. Yeah, that is a optimistic view of batteries because it just feels so finite. But if the lifespan is dramatically higher, that becomes a much more useful and less resource intensive proposition.
There's also one more possibility, and I think that people will call me a little bit pie in the sky here, but I'm okay with that. I think it's possible that it may not just be about fixing the problem with cars, but also about fixing the problem of cars. There's a high-tech version of this where self-driving cars, there's some research and speculation that they might reduce the amount of cars that we're using total.
Fuck no. Absolutely not, dude. Unless, self-driving cars where, I don't know, they were placed on tracks or something so they didn't actually fucking fall off. You know what I mean? Limiting their movement, basically. And then you could make them like buses, you know what I mean? Actually, even larger than buses, as long as they're not on the highway or something, you could probably make them into these large, massive compartments that can hold 30 to 60 people at a time, you know what I mean? And then as long as they're on those tracks that they're going off of, I mean, you can make them electric. You can ensure that they can go pretty fucking fast too, pretty much. I can't really think of anything that, works like that, but I'm sure there's a brilliant scientist out there that could probably come up with something incredible. You know what I mean? I'm just saying it could be cool. It could be a cool idea. Like a high-speed carriage, like a chatter said. A high-speed carriage, exactly. So...
There's also a lower tech version of this where we just...
You're missing the argument entirely. It's not about having to own a car for the 8 hours behind your desk at work so we can drive other people instead. Yeah, but that's not going to fucking limit traffic congestion at all. The entire point of fucking cars is the independence, right? And that independence creates congestion. If you don't actually, the only thing that can eliminate that congestion is not more lanes. It's just public transport, which she's mentioning right now because she's my queen.
The amount of cars that we're using total. There's also a lower tech version of this where we just invest more.
Also, it's not lower tech. Well, I mean, I don't agree with that.
More in public transport. That might sound unsexy, but it really does seem to me like the most promising.
Why is she saying that's unsexy? There's nothing hotter than a train. There's literally nothing sexier than a fucking train. What do you mean that sounds unsexy? Trains are so fucking sexy, dude. Oh my God. Every time you see them go choo-choo, oh fuck, dude. Oh, as long as, oh baby. Imagine high-speed rail. Oh fuck, I'm getting goosebumps. I'm literally, oh. I'm bricked up right now. Fuck.
I think also if you zoom out for a second and think about why we care about climate change, yes, we care about animals and we care about the planet itself, but we also care a lot about human suffering. One of the reasons why so many people care about climate change is because it will cause human suffering. It already is. And so if you take this story and you look at the human suffering caused by mining and you then say, oh, we're not going to try and solve this problem, we're just, what, going to let more climate change happen? We have to solve these things at the same time because both will hurt more people, basically.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I think if there's like two major takeaways that I take from your research into this, it's like
when's the last time you were on a train? San Diego to Los Angeles, last TwitchCon. Many years. Sorry, I got so excited. I got so horned up about fucking trains. I literally swallowed my spit.
Number one, a greener future is not inherently a cleaner, more idealistic, happy future. It just is like a less CO2 future, which is like, again, obvious. It's like so obvious when you say it like that and make that differentiation, but like I had those so deeply bound together. But I think the more important idea is like, even though I have a pessimistic view of like great power rivalry, there's not an option here. Like, there's no scenario in which throwing up my hands and being like, the world's effed is like gonna do anything. And it's like, in fact, it's the easier way out in a lot of ways. And so it's good to know that there is like real work being done to try to solve this and that it's not just like bound to go down the same route.
In my mind, this story isn't a cleaner future is just as bad. It's a cleaner future is...
Look at this metro in Guangzhou. Is that how you say it? I don't even know. This isn't an intercity high-speed rail. It's a subway. Line 18 in Guangzhou, China. Operating speeds exceed 160 kilometers, 100 miles per hour. Fuck! Oh God. Fuck me, dude. God damn. Why can't we fucking have this? Because we have a car-reliant transportation system and an infrastructure that we built on top of that car-reliant... I mean, we have a car-reliant infrastructure that was deliberately created like this. Most Chinese EVs have switched up from cobalt lithium batteries to LFP non-cobalt lithium for iron phosphate, which is cheaper and better for their profits. Even Tesla has been switching the Chinese-supplied LFP batteries. Walkable neighborhoods are important too. It sucks that I have to drive 15 minutes to the edge of my town to the local big box store just to pick up some milk for my grocery store. Taking trains in the US is kind of pointless because even if you take a train to a new location, you still need a vehicle to navigate the new town. God, we need a new full infrastructure rehaul. Oh, 100%. That is absolutely true. That is also the other part of this problem, which is that even if you, all of our fucking towns are built around the idea of having a car. Unsexy because she, not her in particular, but the media upper middle class, doesn't want to be around normal people. Same way that they treat the baristas they rely on and tip but loathe deep down. They have this idea that every train is shit covered and full of transients / houseless. The underlying philosophy of our infrastructure. Yeah, I mean that's where the independent comes from. But you need high social credit to ride it, bitch. Are you kidding me? You know how high my social credit would be if I had that access to this? I would literally just be like, President Xi, leader, dear leader, you are so brilliant all the time. I would literally, straight up, I would do fucking so much. Biggest mistake is not knowing, not learning Mandarin, dude. Oh my God, dude. Holy fuck. I would literally nonstop do propaganda. Which, by the way, it's not even, the social credit thing is like, it locks you out. But in America, you don't even need, you already have credit. In the United States of America, you already have the same process. It's called just the regular credit system. And also, we don't even have high-speed rail anyway. They don't even have a wording for social credit. It's not a thing. I mean, it's not like, I think they have some kind of credit system. It's similar to our financial credit system. Let's get back to this video.
This is a cleaner future with problems that we still have to solve.
Oh, it was over already. What the fuck? We can produce hydrogen using wind and solar.